Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we review an absolute staple of the whiskey world and one of the best-selling whiskies of all time. That is Jack Daniel's Old Number 7. Let's find out just how good this bestseller is. Run that video. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Whiskey Cove, where we review Jack Daniel's Old Number 7. Just a fantastic whiskey that is known probably in every country in the world. Talk about brand representation. Before we get into this whiskey, I want to bring something to you, and that is a chance of winning 1 to 6 free bottles on the Whiskey Cove's free giveaway. What you need to do to be in with a chance to win one of these 5 bottles, and then the 6 that'll get announced. That is the Early Times Bottled in Bond, the Brown Foreman Black Top. We have the Willet 4-Year Rye. Then we also have E.H.Taylor Small Batch. We also have Weller 107 or OWA. And then last, the Old Forester Single Barrel Strength. And then one more, which we'll be announcing very shortly. You need to do 2 things. Firstly, you need to be a subscriber. So go down, hit that subscribe button. That's one done. Secondly, at the end of this video, go down in the description and click on the Whiskey Cove's website. Go over to the Shop All tab and then select the free giveaway ticket. Fill out all your information. And then after that, just be on the lookout for the 5,000 live free subscriber giveaway. And then see if your names get pulled. And then just let the Whiskey Cove know. And then we'll do a couple of checks and then we'll get these bottles out to the people who win them. It doesn't cost you anything. I pay for postage and I've already paid for the bottles, so be a subscriber and just sign up for that free giveaway. With that being said, let's get these bottles out of here. So Jack Daniel's, world-renowned Tennessee whiskey, albeit not what Jack Nicholson says in The Shining. When he goes to the bar, he asks for a bourbon and the bartender pours him a glass of Jack Daniel's Old Number 7. Though you could argue that Jack Daniel's is both a bourbon and a Tennessee whiskey. They file the copyright and patents or whatnot every year for both. It depends on where you live and what your own representation is to it. It goes through the whole process that bourbon does, but then they just do one extra step, which is the filtration through sugar maple charcoal, which they get pallets of, they burn on site, and then they put them in big cauldrons, and then they feed the clear white distillate through before then they put them into barrels. This is coming in at a mere 40% ABV or 90 proof, so just legal to be called a whiskey there. The bottle itself is just classic Jack Daniel's. It's like, that's been everywhere. That front label, you see it on t-shirts, you see it on album covers, TV. It's just quintessential Jack Daniel's. This is out of Lynchburg, Tennessee. The bottle itself, like I said, it's pretty good quality. I've always liked the Jack Daniel's bottle. However, what lets it down a little bit is the lid. Why is that? Well, it isn't a cork. It is just a cheap and nasty black cap. Come on, Jack Daniel's, you can do a little bit better than that. Just splurge the extra 3 to 5 cents and make it a cork. Maybe just because it gets shipped everywhere in the world that they feel like a plastic cap might hold up better to maybe a cork. That would just be my thinking, but I don't know for sure. So let's get this whiskey in the glass here. Perfect. And as you can see, it does have this little tag on because I did buy it from the bottle shop there in Lynchburg when I did my own tour of Jack Daniel's. Even though you can get this bottle anywhere, I just thought it would be fun to buy it there. I bought a few other things as well. I was definitely caught up in the moment, that's for sure. So just looking at the whiskey in the glass here, it does look really light. I'm thinking straw color almost, like newly cut fresh straw ready to be fed to cows or hay if you like. It does look quite thin as well, which is understandable because it is 40% ABV. It looks like someone's dropped an ice cube in here, walked away, and then come back after it's melted. It does look quite clean in the glass, which is always a good sign. Let's go in for a nose. Jack Daniel's Old Number 7. So I've always, from a little bit about me before we go in for a nose, and I know it's probably someone screaming at the camera, just knows it already. When I was getting brought up in the UK, the only kind of options for American whiskey was Jim Beam or Jack Daniel's. You couldn't really get anything outside of that because the whiskey hadn't really made it to the UK. And I always lent more towards Jim Beam. I just felt I had more of those quintessential bourbon notes. Obviously I didn't know that at the time, but I know what I liked and I know what I was liking back then now. However, this Jack Daniels is always a little bit more sweeter, but the nose, it always just reminds me of like cherry bubble gum, like a cheap 5-cent cherry bubble gum chew. And that's not a knock on it, although that note is artificially in a way. It's okay, it's quite pleasant. You get the vanilla, you get that kind of like light bubblegum cherry. And as a lot of people will tell you, you definitely do get banana on this. Folks will say banana runts, but it's not like a banana runts for me. It's more like a baked banana. If you can imagine like a banana nut bread, you pull the banana, which is still warm, out in the middle of the bread and you taste it and you eat it. It kind of has some more of that on the nose. A little bit of maybe like cedar or like wood shavings or sawdust on the nose. Apart from that, it's a little thin. There's not really much spice. There's not really much else to really write home about. But that sweetness, the cherry and the bananas, is quite pleasant. Let's go in for a taste here. So, it's been a while since I tasted this whiskey. I think I just might have tried it once on a Jack Daniels walkthrough for the first time for a long time. But this bottle has been just here for other people to drink because people get overwhelmed with a lot of the whiskey and then they see Jack Daniels and they think, okay, I know that, I'll drink that. Very thin on the palate. Again, kind of tastes almost watered down, but I think that's more towards what I like in terms of like if I'm drinking 50% ABV whiskey all the time. Anytime I go back to a 40% ABV whiskey, it's gonna taste thinner, it's gonna taste more watered down. But if you're someone who's just trying to get into whiskey and you start with this, then it might taste quite hot for you. But for my palate, it's a little bit thin, a little bit that feeling of watered down. It's a little nutty as well. I don't quite want to say peanut-y. It's definitely in the nut family, maybe like a pecan type nut. I wouldn't say a toasted pecan, more of like a raw, slightly bitter pecan. But apart from that, that cherry, that banana comes through a little bit, but that kind of goes quite fast. And then you're kind of just left with this very thin body, thin watery body. Let's taste it one more time to see if we can pick apart the finish, see what else we can maybe pull out of there at the end. Yeah, it wasn't pecan-y, it was more of like a hazelnut. Kind of has some butteriness there as well at the back end, like a buttery pop going with a little like that corn, almost like corn dust note coming through. No Kentucky hug as expected. Mouthfeel overall thin, not very chewy if you like. Just kind of evaporates and just kind of goes away quite nicely. Jack Daniels always seems to be drunk with Coke. We will not be doing that today because we try to just do the review of the whiskey in its rawest form. I have had Jack and Coke before. It's quite pleasant. It is what it is. It kind of does what it says on the tin, if you like, and it makes a somewhat palatable whiskey more palatable and more enjoyable, if you like. So, if you are someone who is new to the Whiskey Cove, we like to do two things to grade or score the whiskey. We like to do a value for money, A being the best and F being the worst. And then we also like to do a score out of 100, 0 being the worst, 100 being this absolute beautiful, wonderful Herald bottle. So MSRP is a little over $20 to $21 is what I paid for this. Yesterday I was at the bottle store last year, but it's around that range, around the $20 to like $23 mark, which is actually quite high. You can definitely get other whiskey which is a little bit better than this for that, but Jack Daniels sits on its brand. So for value for money, I would actually give this probably a D. I think there's much better value for money to be out there, like maybe like Old Grandad Bonded, or Forester 100, or Cooper's Craft 100, or some stuff that jumps to mind. And then score of 100. And I don't want this score to reflect the Jack Daniels distillery in general, because Jack Daniels Distillery makes some excellent whiskey and some of my favorite whiskey. The Jack Daniels 10 Bourbon, the Jack Daniels Barrel Proof Single Barrel, the Jack Daniels Bonded are some of my top favorite whiskeys. However, this is not one of those. So score of 100, I'm probably going to give it an 18. That may sound low, I guess that's because it is. but our scale is quite specific. You know, 50 isn't low. 50 is right in the middle of the road. So even though 18 sounds really low, it's 10 or minus is really low. So this is, you know, I drink it every now and again, maybe at a bar. If someone was like, I'm having a Jack and Coke, would you like a Jack and Coke or a Jack with me? Then I think I would just get caught up in what the drink represents more than the actual flavor, and just say, heck yeah, why not have a Jack and Coke? Also a favorite drink of Frank Sinatra. He liked his Jack Daniels, 3 fingers of Jack, 2 ice cubes, and then 1 finger of water. And he drank that all the time up until the day he died. So if you want to be like him, then buy a bottle of Jack and make that cocktail. But for me, I think I'm gonna skip it and just keep this bottle until it's gone. And then maybe I'll try to kind of shoehorn in another video, or maybe like a budget buster video or whatnot. But with that being said, don't forget to sign up for the free giveaway. Again, go and check out the link down below to get that subscription submitted. And hopefully one of you folks can get one of these bottles right around Christmas time. It would be really nice if we can get these bottles in people's hands before Christmas as a nice gift there. And thank you to everybody for supporting the channel, whether that's a like, comment, or subscription. I very much appreciate it. So that was Jack Daniel's Old No. 7, and as we drink through the world's whiskies 1 glass at a time, cheers.